So it's a bit fun.
Australia faces many environmental issues because of the steady increase in the yearly global surface temperature. The greenhouse gas effect has been slowly heating our planet as more carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases are being trapped in the atmosphere. These greenhouse gases prevent the Earth's atmosphere from being able to balance the incoming and outgoing radiation from the sun. As a result, the surface of the Earth has absorbed more heat, thus heating the planet over time. Humans are the main cause of the rapid increase in global warming. Since the Industrial Revolution, the atmospheric levels of CO2 have increased by greater than 40%. Because of global warming, the climate change has had a significant impact on the biodiversity of Australia. It has created many uninhabitable land for plants and animals to survive. Australia has a 14% predicted extinction risk, one of the highest risks globally.
Australia's wildlife has evolved for a really long period of time in isolation. That means basically because there's not been the opportunity for animals to disperse onto the Australian continent because it's been surrounded by oceans for the last 45 million years. It means that there's been a really long period of time where the animals have evolved unique adaptations to this climate, to this environment. And as Australia's been slowly moving north, it's been becoming increasingly arid, and the animals have adapted to that unique ecosystem. Climate change represents another unique challenge on top of everything else that wildlife is contending with. So in particular, probably one of the biggest threats is that as climate changes, if animals are going to be able to cope with that, often they need to move to areas that are now more climatically suitable. And with the combined threats of habitat clearance, roads and destruction of habitat, it means that animals have limited capacity to actually be able to move fast enough to cope with the changes in climate.
Roughly half of the 200 Australian species are threatened, including mammals, amphibians, reptiles, birds, and plants. To protect these vulnerable species, we need to save the ecosystems that they live in order to give them the best chance of survival. Global warming has had a major effect on the tropical reef ecosystems. Australia is famous for its Great Barrier Reef, which has been greatly affected by global warming and the rising sea temperatures. The reef has experienced 3 recent mass bleachings in 1998, 2002, 2016. Once the coral are bleached and have lost their color, they have higher rates of mortality. Humans are the cause to global warming and these environmental issues in Australia, but we are also the solution to help decrease them.
One part of the solution is for us to take responsibility and be aware of our carbon footprint. The carbon footprint is a term describing one's total impact on the climate change regarding our greenhouse gas emissions. We should all strive for a minimal individual impact by having a sustainable lifestyle. To minimize the impact of your visits to the natural and cultural heritage areas of Australia, as we will do going to the Royal National Park and Blue Mountains, you are recommended to follow the ethics of Leave No Trace. Leave No Trace consists of 7 principles built on attitude and awareness of how to act to protect the natural environment. By doing prior planning, you prevent poor performance while traveling and camping. You can avoid dangerous situations in unfamiliar areas by, for instance, gathering local information, required technical skills, and by obtaining knowledge of the weather conditions. Stomping in new environments can cause damage to vegetation that can take up to 25 years to recover. To prevent this, avoid surfaces such as fragile soil layers in riparian zones, and instead going to the popular areas and use the designated tracks. Everyone is responsible for cleaning up after themselves when using recreation lands. By searching the area for kitchen waste, rubbish, and spilled food, we can avoid injuring animals and plastics destroying the ocean. This principle means that we can retain the special qualities and natural objects of every wilderness area for everyone to discover. Leave rocks, shells, plants, and never touch Aboriginal rock art. Perfect. Many of the bushfires in Australia are accidentally or carelessly set by travelers or campers, and these fires destroy huge areas every year. To decrease the chance of uncontrolled hot fires, we should reduce the amount of fuel in the forest and avoid setting up campfires. The wildlife is, as we've said, facing a lot of threats from pollution, fragmentation of habitat, and a lot more. Some of the animals in the natural environments abandon their habitat when humans arrive, and some are endangered by our food and rubbish. We have a responsibility to coexist peacefully with wildlife. We will not be alone in the wilderness, and we need to respect the rights of the traditional landowners and share the natural environment with everyone as interested in exploring its many qualities as us.
We must follow these 7 principles while traveling in Australia. There are also a lot of changes you can make in your everyday life to strive for a minimal individual impact.
The class theories that I can and that most of us can apply to our real life and everyday life are things like decomposing our fruits and vegetables, reducing the amount of trash we have, and also recycling the most that we can. So if we learn what these practices are and apply them to our daily lives, we can help the entire environment.
Besides these individual acts, you can get together with people in your community, join clubs on campus, and sign up for activities through organizations like Clean Up Australia or Conservation Volunteer to create a greater effect.
I'm interested interested in environmental politics because I feel like we're the generation that needs to fix things, and I feel like I, as a poli-sci major, have a one-up leg and can study environmental politics and figure out some solutions for us.
Together, we can increase the chances of being seen and heard. We can influence the policymakers at the national level. The Australian government has implemented policies and made plans to meet the climate change targets in light of the Paris Agreement. These policies act to reduce energy use, greenhouse gas emissions, waste, and water contamination. Now's your chance to get involved and make a difference.